Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Thanks so much for tuning back in. Excited to get started with today's episode on learning how to overcome leptin resistance in order to burn more fat. Many people have heard now about insulin resistance. This is basically when your blood sugar has been elevated for a number of days, weeks, months, and years, and your pancreas, or basically it's your brain telling your pancreas to produce insulin, it basically stops listening. It's not able to unlock the cells in order to get the sugar out of your blood and into your cells where it could be stored for as energy or body fat if those energy stores and lockers have already been filled up. So what we want to do is understand and really look at how leptin resistance often goes hand in hand with insulin resistance. This means that if you have elevated levels of blood sugar, you're starting to gain body fat or body weight, you're unable to lose the weight, your hormones are in flux, meaning they are not balanced, that you need to start to look at the root cause fundamentals. And dieting your way out of this, as I'm about to show you, is never going to be the solution. So we have to understand that the things we do today to our body affect us next week and next year. Almost nothing we do today affects us today unless we have food sensitivities or digestive issues, right? But what we do today, we pay the price for later, next week, next year, or we get to reap the benefits. So what I want to share with you today, really, what is leptin resistance? How balancing it back out can actually allow you to burn more body fat effortlessly. And that is because your body gets the right signals in order to tell you when you're hungry and not hungry. So it also helps to destroy cravings. If you have less cravings, you're not going to overeat. You're going to eat the right amount of food for your body because your body is listening. So let's go through this today. I'm not going to go through deep into what leptin and ghrelin are. Hopefully you've been listening to the podcast for a little bit now. If you haven't, that's okay. I always link back to the previous shows. The absolute best way to find out if I've done a show on something before that you want to learn more about, and most likely I have, because today is episode 2063. So that means I've done 2062 podcasts before this one, and you can search them all at stephencabral.com/podcasts. And you'll be able to type in the search term right there. Now, if you ever can't find a show, just go to cabralsupportgroup.com. That's our free private Facebook group, and we answer your questions right inside of that group. Michelle and Daniel are two people that know basically all of my podcasts inside and out. So if you're ever looking for a show, give them a shout. They would be happy to get back to you. All right. So we're going to link up everything today that we can find, though, at stephencabral.com/2063. And if you have additional questions, you can search on the podcast page. And you can also just go to cabralsupportgroup.com and ask our amazing health coaches over there. Okay. So first things first, basically, what is leptin? And when I talk about leptin, I can't help but talk about its partner, its influx, its yin to its yang, which is ghrelin. So leptin and ghrelin are basically signals that move to the brain from other peripheral parts of the body. So basically what happens is that leptin is secreted by your fat cells. All right. It's also secreted by stomach cells, a little bit in the heart. It can be, believe it or not, secreted by the placenta and some in the muscle. What leptin does is it signals the brain to decrease hunger. Okay. So when there is secretion of leptin from your fat or your stomach, we're going to go with those first two right now, It tells your brain to say, oh, we're full, we're good, we're no longer hungry. And then the influx to that is ghrelin. And ghrelin is the hunger hormone, right? We'll call it a hormone. So you have these two partners. Leptin says, we're full, stop eating. Ghrelin says, we're hungry, start eating. Okay, so that's basically how it works. And if we want to make it even simpler, we can say your stomach is literally speaking to your mind and giving then the entire peripheral nervous system, or the autonomic nervous system, and I should say central nervous system, so your body's ability to say it's time to eat, not eat, turn on digestion, turn off digestion. That's basically what it is, right? So your brain tells your nervous system what to do. So your brain sends signals down your spinal cord, and it tells all these different organs and muscles and everything else what to do and how to do it. So here's what we want to think about. When your stomach says, I'm hungry, it's producing leptin. When it says I'm full, it's producing ghrelin. And the two are in inverse ratio. You've heard me talk about before, when cortisol levels are high, stress levels are high, melatonin levels, which are your sleep hormone, is low. During the night, when melatonin is high, your stress hormone, cortisol, is low. That's how it should work. These two are exactly the same. So if you are basically well-fed and your hormones are balanced, well, leptin usually says we're good to go. We're balanced, right? We are full. But if the hormones are not balanced and there's an issue with inflammation and body fat, as we're about to speak about, ghrelin levels, the hunger hormone, goes up. So our job then as humans is to be able to balance our leptin and ghrelin in order to have good energy, good digestion, because we don't want to eat when we're not hungry. And we also want to be able to burn body fat, especially as a fuel source when we need it. So that's why these two hormones are critical, absolutely critical for our overall health, not just body fat. But if you're looking to burn body fat, these are crucial to get into alignment. So what happens though, as I was alluding to in the very beginning, is that as a person begins to gain weight, it's very interesting, right? It's very interesting when you look at this. As a person begins to gain weight, the brain doesn't seem to listen to the leptin being produced, or there are theories that although the leptin is still being produced, it's not able to make it across that blood-brain barrier, or it's bound up before the brain can actually get those signals. This is very interesting because it's not too different from high blood sugar and insulin resistance. So let's look at it this way. You've been eating a lot of processed food, not say you, but let's just say a human being, right? A human being's been eating a lot of processed food, a lot of bread, a lot of pasta, a lot of cookies, a lot of pastries, a lot of muffins, a lot of fun foods, as we say, right? So they're eating a lot of foods that are basically the color white, beige, brown, all the processed food colors, okay? So we're eating those foods and it's raising our blood sugar levels throughout the day. And over time, the blood sugar begins to increase. The pancreas specifically has to produce more and more insulin. And over time, our cells stop responding to the insulin that is produced by those beta cells in the pancreas. So what happens? Well, the blood sugar then remains more in the bloodstream. And I've gone over various reasons as to why this is, because it's not from sugary carbohydrate foods alone. And this was a pretty mind-blowing show that was difficult to take in if your dogma is that sugar causes diabetes. It seems very apparent now that sugar alone does not cause diabetes, and I went through all the studies. It is sugar and fats, hydrogenated fats, that is causing the cells to no longer respond to insulin. And that's because those receptors on the outside of your cell that insulin unlocks in order to get the sugar in the cell, well, those locks are gummed up. Think about it. You get to go to your car. Well, cars now typically are auto open, but you go to your home. Let's say your home has a key, right? So your home has a key, but picture the lock is filled with cement. You can't put the key in there. The lock is there, but it's blocked. right? That is how insulin is not able to respond to the cell, because those hydrogenated or oxidized oils, a lot of those oxidized vegetable oils especially, they gum up the locks. So now insulin's not able to open the lock, which means the blood sugar stays in the bloodstream instead of in the cells. That is what we call insulin resistance. The cells are resistant to the cries of the insulin. Well, the same thing here. We don't necessarily know. We have theories as to why leptin may not be working the same way to say I'm full. So let's say you're eating more, right? And you're putting on weight. Well, the more body fat that you accumulate and the more food that you eat, the more leptin theoretically you should produce, at least in a healthy body. So you should be full all the time because you have more body fat and you've eaten plenty. You're full. Signal leptin. Ghrelin should be basically quiet. That's the hunger hormone, right? That one should be quiet. You're full. You've got lots of leptin being produced. Okay, the leptin may be being produced, but it's not making its way in order to be able to send those signals from the brain to the rest of the body. And this happens as we begin to accumulate more and more body fats. And lo and behold, it coincides with insulin resistance as well. We see this a lot in overweight and obese patients and people in the world. So the issue is this is the conundrum, right? So you need to eat food in order to produce leptin, in order to say I'm satiated. But when you're eating more and more to get that leptin signal released, you gain body fat. And the more body fat you gain, the more inflammation this is. And although you may be producing more leptin from all of the fat cells, you are not getting that signal. It's being disrupted. So your brain still thinks it's starving. So although you may be overweight and although you may have enough body fat, your body says it's starving. And it starts to make what? More ghrelin, more hunger hormone. So you start to eat more because you have more cravings. And the craving is for typically salty, fat, and carbohydrate-based food, right? Comfort foods. That's why we like them. They basically hit all the criteria of gaining weight. If you want to gain weight the fastest way humanly possible, not the healthiest, but the fastest, you're going to combine processed sugar with fat, especially saturated fat, since it's more anabolic. So if you really want to gain fat, right, the unhealthiest fat is certainly oxidized polyunsaturated. But again, if you want to gain fat the fastest way possible, gain body weight, we already know this, by the way, because if we look at mammalian or breast milk, what we look at is we're saying, okay, fore milk, sugar, right? More sugar. Hind milk, more saturated fat. Raised blood sugar, then comes the fat, easy way to gain weight. Right, and we've known that. And we've known it from bodybuilders to sumo wrestlers. How do you gain weight? Well, basically white rice and oils cooked into essentially a cake. Right? It looks like I don't know the exact name in sumo wrestling culture, but in Italian culture, my culture is basically Portuguese and Italian. My heritage, it's arancini, and that is a really great way to gain weight. Not healthy, but a great way to gain weight. But all kidding aside, this is an issue because you're gaining weight. Your body's telling you you're still hungry. You can't control the hunger hormone, so you feel like you're starving. Like people sometimes say, on a functional medicine detox or on an intermittent fast that they're starving. Well, you're not starving because you still have plenty of body fat, and all that body fat is energy. The problem is the cells are not signaling properly. So what do we need to do? Well, first of all, we need to do this. We need to get the proper signals back. We need to balance inflammation. The first thing we balance inflammation is not through even losing body fat, but it's actually through reducing as much of the inflammatory load as we can, reducing as much of the toxicity load as we can. So the less inflammation we have, the better signaling there is. So that's step one. The way that we do that is really eliminating a lot of those cooked oils or hydrogenated oils or oxidized oils. And number two, we eliminate the processed foods. You might have heard this a million times. I'm sure you have. But the truth is that it doesn't make it any less true. All the times I've had to hear things many, many times in my life, to make it stick and do it, right? And so what I want to share with you is that if you're eating processed foods right now, even if it's just a couple times a week, we need to eliminate those for about 21 days. We've seen that over and over and over, like literally our 21-day functional medicine detox, 21-day fat velocity system, all these different things. Eliminate, it's what it takes. And I'm going to get to that actually in just a second. But I just want to share with you a couple interesting studies as well before I give you the plan to follow. So the first is this, is that, and these are direct studies, leptin seems to also influence fertility and reproduction in women. We've shown this over and over in clinical lab testing. When you are insulin resistant, you've gained weight, you have imbalanced hormones. Typically, thyroid gets lowered, and typically you become estrogen dominant. I have many shows on that. I would definitely tune into those if you're dealing with fertility issues. Along with, and leptin becomes an issue as well. Here's the other interesting thing. When men and women are given insulin through intranasally, so just basically as a nasal-based spray, what happens is men become less hungry, but women actually get hungrier and gain weight, unless a woman's estrogen level is actually low. And we see this over and over in our practice. Women become estrogen dominant, have higher levels of estrogen, and they do not respond normally then to normal hormonal influences, which means you can't just keep following the diet plans that people out there tell you that you just need to eat less and exercise more. No, what you need to do is rebalance the hormones. We'll get to that again in just a second. Another one is this, just reiterating, you can't just eat less. Very good study, 8 weeks long. Could be longer, yes, but all it needed was 8 weeks. It showed that if you reduce your calories by about 500 calories per day for 8 weeks, men and women lost about 5% of their body weight. Men, 5.5%, women about 4.5%. Okay, we actually see men lose more weight than that, and women, that's fairly normal. So let's just say you're 200 pounds. That's 10 pounds, right? 10 pounds in 2 months. That's very achievable for sure. Many people could do that in 30 days with a different plan, but regardless. But the problem is that after 8 weeks, and just 8 weeks, that's why they didn't need to do the study for longer, leptin levels went down pretty dramatically. So that means cravings went up. So that is why most people are not able to stick to a diet because, and they don't tell you this, your hunger hormone goes up and your satiety hormone goes down, meaning you don't feel satiated anymore. So this is just super, super important. So what can we do about all this? Just a couple, again, there are so many podcasts. They're all free for you to start to dig in and really understand this. I would love you to read The Rain Barrel Effect. It goes much, much deeper. That book is now free after 3 years. I'm now giving the book away. That's at StephenCabral.com. You just pay shipping and handling. I pay for the printing of the book. You pay for the shipping and handling. Hopefully that seems fair. Here's the first thing, though, really, really important. We need to eat 3 meals a day. I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting. Please listen to yesterday's show. I believe every human being, 99.9 out of 100, should be doing 12, 14, or 16 hours in that time frame of intermittent fasting. You'll find the sweet spot for you. The reason is that you need to eat in order to get those leptin levels back with your body. Whole food diet, that's what we're looking at, right? Predominantly whole food. Doesn't mean you can't do a smoothie in the morning. You absolutely can. It's whole foods. You're putting good protein in there, all sorts of good nourishment. Try to get your 10,000 steps in per day. Even if you're not a big exerciser, at least get your 10,000 steps in. In an ideal world, try to do a little walk after your meals or move about after your meals to help control blood sugar level better. The absolute best thing you can do besides that is to figure out which one of your hormones are imbalanced. Is it thyroid? Is it cortisol? Is it estrogen? Is it testosterone? And that is through running an at-home lab test that you can find, the one I recommend, at StephenCabral.com/hormones-test. That is StephenCabral.com/hormones-test. We will link that up for you today at StephenCabral.com/2063, where the previous show on leptin and ghrelin is. If you want to still learn more about leptin and ghrelin, we'll link that up for you here today. That was episode 404. And the last point that I want to leave you here today, because remember, everything is fixable. So we have to understand this. Literally every imbalance in your body is fixable, unless like permanent skeletal or biomechanical damage was done from like rheumatoid arthritis to the small joints of the hands, you can still become pain-free, but they may not go back to a normal form. But everything is fixable. I mean, it really is. You just have to find the underlying root cause imbalance. So my first recommendation would be to test your hormones. Ideally, you run the Big 5. You can find that at StephenCabral.com/Big5, just the number 5. Or at the very least, run the StephenCabral.com/hormones-test. That gives you all of your different hormones that you need to know about, plus vitamin D, plus your insulin levels, plus your hemoglobin A1C. So important. But let's say you're not going to do those. Okay. What you will want to start out with is a 21-day functional medicine detox, and then ideally transition into the Fatlocity-based system. Those are important to do because what they do is they teach you about whole eating. They teach you about intermittent fasting. They give you things to help empty that rain barrel, detoxify the body. If this is all new to you, just start with the free podcast, start with the free book, get acclimated. Remember, you have time. You'll be able to figure this out. And when you do, please let us know. We want to hear about your success story. And of course, we want you to share your success with others. That's what this is all about. So the last part I'll say is this. This can start to seem complicated. Don't let it be. Ask questions at cabralsupportgroup.com. If you ever can't find a link or you just need a quick tip about where to find one of these links, just go to StephenCabral.com/text. You can literally text me. I can't read your labs for you. I can't give you massive advice. I don't know you, right? I can't give you medical advice or any of those things, but I can help you find what you're looking for. And again, for the fastest response, just go to cabralsupportgroup.com. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. We really do. My whole team and I appreciate all the support. So again, if this show is helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Thank you so much for tuning into the show today. And before you go, I want to make sure that you know about this amazing offer over at Equilife. Right now, you can get a free box of one of our most popular products, which are these superfood chocolate bars. These are actual dark chocolate bars that you don't have to feel guilty about eating. At only 90 calories and only 5 grams of fat, you are looking at an organic chocolate bar that tastes like cherries, raspberries, and chocolate. So if you like raspberry and you like chocolate, you're going to love this bar. Picture a small, individually wrapped, organic dark chocolate bar that's loaded with superfoods as well, such as apple, cherry, and raspberry. What you really come across, though, is the dark chocolate and that raspberry taste, a little touch of cherry as well. They're absolutely delicious. My family loves them. We keep them in the refrigerator, and I have no doubt you will as well. And right now, every single order, while supplies last, will ship with qualifying orders over $99 from Equilife with a free box of chocolate superfood bars. Again, absolutely amazing. You can go to StephenCabral.com/Equilife for all of the details, or StephenCabral.com/chocolate to head on over to these chocolate superfood bars. Check them out, try them out, let me know what you thought. Love to hear from you. Take care.